Enlil then said, "Now I have children who have children, all on earth born. Old on earth we became, but those on earth born are even older sooner." So did Enlil to his brother and sister ruefully say, "As for me, an old sheep they call me." So did Ninhursag wistfully say. While the others have been coming and going, turns on earth to serve taking. We the leaders have stayed and stayed. Perchance it is time to leave, so did Enlil say. Of that did I often wonder, to them Enki was saying. Each time one of us three to revisit Nibiru wished, word from Nibiru always our corning there to prevent it. Of that I too did wonder, Enlil was saying, is it a thing on Nibiru, a thing on earth? Perchance the life cycles that differ it concerns, so was Ninhursag saying. To watch and see what transpires, the three leaders decided. At that time fate, or was it destiny, in its hands the matters took. For it came to pass that soon thereafter Marduk to his father, Enki, came, a matter of great gravity with his father, Enki, to discuss with Enki he wished. Upon the earth the three sons of Enlil's spouses have chosen. A bride I wish to choose, to have a spouse it is my desire. So did Marduk to his father Enki say, "Your words happy make me." Enki to Marduk was saying, "Your mother too shall rejoice. Is she one of the young ones who heal and succor give?" Enki went on to ask, "A descendant of Adapa she is, of earth, not Nibiru is she?" Marduk softly whispered. With a puzzled look, Enki was speechless. Then, uncontrolled words, he shouted, "A prince of Nibiru, a firstborn to succession, entitled, an earthling will espouse, not an earthling but your own offspring." To him, Marduk said, "A daughter of Enkime, who to heaven was taken she is, Sapanit is her name." Enki his spouse Ninki summoned. To her what with Marduk transpired he related. To Ninki his mother Marduk his heart's desire repeated, and said, "When Enkime with me was journeying, and of heaven and earth him I was teaching. What my father once had said, I with my own eyes witnessed. Step by step on this planet a primitive being, one like us to be, we have created, in our image and in our likeness. Civilized earthling is, except for the long life. A daughter of Enkime my fancy caught, her to espouse I wish." Ninki, also known as Damkina, her son Marduk's words she pondered. And the maiden, "Does she appreciate your gaze, my son?" "Indeed she does," Marduk to his mother said. "This is not the matter to consider." Enki with a raised voice said, "If our son this shall do, to Nibiru with his wife he would never go. His princely rights on Nibiru he forever will forsake." To this Marduk with a bitter laughter responded, "My rights on Nibiru are non-existent. Even on earth my rights as firstborn have been trampled. This indeed is my decision. From prince a king on earth become the master of this planet. Let it so be," Ninki said. "Let it so be," Enki also said. They summoned Matushal, the bride's brother. Of Marduk's wish they him told. Humbled but with joy overwhelmed Matushal was. "Let it so be," he said. When of the decision Enlil was told, with fury he was seized. It was one thing for the father with earthlings intercourse have, it is another matter for the son an earthling to espouse, lordship on her to bestow. When Ninhursag of the matter was told, greatly disappointed she was. Marduk any maiden of ours could espouse, even from my own daughters by Enki he could chose, half-sisters, as is the royal custom, he could espouse. So did Ninhursag say. With fury Enlil to Anu on Nibiru of the matter, words beamed up. "Too far has this behavior gone, father, it cannot be allowed." To Anu the king Enlil said, "On." Nibiru Anu the councillors summoned, the matter with urgency to discuss. In the rule books of such a matter, no rule they found. Anu the savants also summoned, the matter's consequences to discuss. On Nibiru Adapa, the maiden's progenitor could not stay. To Anu they were saying, therefore to return to Nibiru with her, Marduk forever must be barred. Indeed, having to earth cycles become accustomed, even without her Marduk's return impossible might be. So were the savants to Anu saying, with that the councillors too agreed. Let the decision to earth be beamed. Anu was saying, Marduk marry can, but on Nibiru a prince he shall no more be. The decision by Enki and Marduk was accepted, Enlil too to the word from Nibiru bowed. Let there be a wedding celebration, in Eridu let it be, Ninki to them said. In the Eden Marduk and his bride cannot stay, Enlil the commander announced. Let us to Marduk and his bride a wedding gift make, a domain of their own, away from the Eden in another land. So did Enki to Enlil say. Of Marduk being sent away, Enlil with consent to himself was thinking, "To what land, of what domain are you speaking?" Enlil to his brother Enki said, "A domain above the Abzu, in the land that the upper sea reaches, one that by waters from the Eden is separated, that by ships can be reached." So did Enki to Enlil say. "Let it so be," Enlil said. In Eridu, a wedding celebration Ninki for Marduk and Sarpanit arranged. Her people, by the sound of a copper drum, the ceremony announced, with 7 tambourines, her sisters, the bride to her spouse, presented. A great multitude of civilized earthlings in Eridu assembled, like a coronation to them the wedding was. Young Anunnaki also attended. Igigi from Mars in great numbers came. To celebrate our leader's wedding, of Nibiru and Earth a union, to witness we came. So did the Igigi, their arrival in large numbers, explain. Now this is the account of how the Igigi and the daughters of the Earthlings were abducted, and how afflictions followed, and Zeusudra, who is also known as Noah, oddly was born. In a great number did the Igigi from Mars to Earth come, only 1/3 of them on Mars stayed. To Earth came 200. To be with their leader Marduk, his wedding celebration to attend, was their explanation. Unbeknownst to Enki and Enlil was their secret. To abduct and have conjugation was their plot. Unbeknownst to the leaders on Earth, a multitude of the Igigi on Mars got together. What to Marduk permitted is from us too should not be deprived. To each other they said, enough of suffering and loneliness, of not offspring ever having, was their oath. During their comings and goings between Mars and Earth, the daughters of the Earthlings, the Adapahist females as them they called, they saw, and after them they lusted. And to each other the plotters said, "Come, let us choose wives from among the Adapahist females, and children of our own will beget." One among them, Semjazi his name was, their leader became. "Even if none of you agrees, I alone the deed shall do." To the others he said, "If a penalty for this sin shall be imposed, I alone for all of you shall it bear." One by one, others in the plot joined together. By an oath together to do it, they swore to do this together. By the time of Marduk's wedding, 200 of them on the landing place descended. Upon the great platform in the Cedar Mountains they came down. From there to Eridu they journeyed. Among the toiling Earthlings they passed. Together with the Earthling throng in Eridu they arrived. After the wedding ceremony of Marduk and Sarpanit had taken place, by a signal prearranged Shamgaz to the others a sign gave. An Earthling maiden each one of the Igigi seized, by force they them abducted. To the landing place in the Cedar Mountains, the Igigi with the females went. Into a stronghold the place they made. To the leaders a challenge they issued. Enough of deprivation and not having offspring. The Adapahist daughters to marry we wish. Your blessing to this you must give, else by fire all on earth destroy we will. Alarmed the leaders were, of Marduk, the Igigi commander, charged to take they demanded. If in the matter I a solution must seek, with the Igigi my heart in agreement is. So did Marduk to the others say, what I have done from them cannot be deprived. Enki and Ninharsag their heads shook, with begrudging agreement they voiced. Only Enlil was enraged without pacification. One evil deed by another has been followed. Fornication from Enki and Marduk, the Igigi they have adopted. Our pride and sacred mission to the winds have been abandoned. By our own hands, this planet with earthling multitudes shall be overrun. With much disgust was Enlil speaking. Let the Igigi and their females from Earth depart. On Mars conditions unbearable have become, surviving is not possible. So did Marduk to Enlil and Enki say. In the Eden they cannot remain. Enlil with anger shouted. With much disgust the gathering he left. In his heart, things against Marduk and his Earthlings was Enlil plotting. Upon the landing platform in the Cedar Mountains were the Igigi and their females secluded. Children there to them were born, children of the rocket ships they were called. Marduk and Sarpanit his spouse also had children. Asar and Satu were the first 2 sons called. To the domain above the Abzu, to him and Sarpanit granted, Marduk the Igigi invited, to dwell in 2 cities that for his sons he had built. Some of the Igigi and their offspring to the domain in the dark-hued land came. On the landing platform in the Cedar Mountains, Shamgaz and others did remain to the far east lands, lands of high mountains. Some of their offspring went. How Marduk of Earthlings his strength increases, Ninurta carefully observed. What are Enki and Marduk scheming? To his father, Enlil Ninurta said, "The earth by the earthlings inherited they will." Enlil to Ninurta said, "Go, the offspring of Cain you must find, with them a domain of your own prepare." To the other side of earth Ninurta went, the offspring of Cain he found. How tools to make and music to play he them taught. How in mining to engage and smelt and refine he showed them. How to build rafts of balsam trees he showed them. To cross a great sea he them guided. In a new land a domain they established. A city with twin towers there they built. A domain beyond the seas it was, the mountain land of the new bond heaven earth it was not. In the Eden, Lumak was the workmaster, quotas to enforce was his duty, the earthlings' rations to reduce was his task. His spouse was Batanash, the daughter of Lumak's father's brother she was. Of a beauty outstanding she was, by her beauty was Enki charmed. Enki to his son Marduk a word did send, to your domain Lumak do summon. How by earthlings a city to build there him teach. And when Lumak to the domain of Marduk was summoned, to the household of Ninharsag in Shurubak, the haven city, his spouse Batanash was brought, from the angry earthling masses protected and safe to be. Thereafter Enki his sister, Ninharsag in Shurubak was quick to visit. On the roof of a dwelling when Batanash was bathing, Enki by her loins took hold. He kissed her, his seed into her womb he poured. With a child Batanash was, her belly was truly swelling. To Lumak from Shurubak word was sent, to the Eden return, a son you have. To the Eden, to Shurubak, Lumak returned. To him Batanash the sun showed. White as the snow his skin was, the color of wool was his hair. Like the skies were his eyes, in a brilliance were his eyes shining. Amazed and frightened was Lumak. To his father Matushal he hurried. A son unlike an earthling to Batanash was born. By this birth greatly puzzled I am. Methuselah to Batanash came, the newborn boy he saw, by his likeness amazed he was. Is he one of the Igigi god's offspring? Of Batanash Matushal the truth demanded. To Lumak your spouse whether this boy his son is, the truth reveal. None of the Igigi is the boy's father, of this upon my life I swear. So did Batanash him answer. To his son Lamech Matushala then turned, a calming arm on his shoulders he put. A mystery the boy is, but in his oddness an omen to you is revealed. Unique he is, for a task unique by destiny he was chosen. What that task is I know not, in time appropriate known it shall become. So was Methuselah to his son Lamech saying. To what on earth was transpiring he was alluding. In those days the sufferings on earth were increasing. The days colder grew, the skies their rains were holding back, fields their crops diminished. In the sheepfolds ewe lambs were few. Let the son to you born, unusual as he is, an omen be that a respite is coming. So did Matushala to his son Lumak say, let respite be his name. To Matushal and Lumak Batanash, her son's secret did not reveal. Ziusudra, he of long bright life days, she called him. In Shurubak he was raised. Ninharsag on the child her protection and affection was bestowed. Of much understanding he was endowed, with knowledge he was by her provided. Enki, the child greatly adored, to read the writings of Adapa him he taught. The priestly rites how to observe and perform the boy as a young man learned. In the 110th Shah was Ziusudra, also known as Noah, was born. In Shurubak he grew up and espoused Emzara, and she bore him 3 sons. In his days the sufferings on earth intensified, plagues and starvations the earth afflicted. Now this is the account of earth's tribulations before the deluge, and how the mysterious Galzu decisions of life and death in secret guided. By the conjugations of Igigi and the earthling daughters was Enlil greatly disturbed. By Marduk's espousal of an earthling female, Enlil was much distraught. In his eyes the Anunnaki mission to earth had become perverted. To him the howling, shouting earthling masses an anathema became. Oppressive the pronouncements of the earthlings have become. The conjugations of sleep deprive me. So did Enlil to the other leaders say. In the days of Ziusudra plagues and pestilences the earth afflicted, aches, dizziness, chills, fevers the earthlings overwhelmed. Let us the earthlings curing teach, how themselves to remedy to learn, so did Ninharsag say. "This by decree I forbid," Enlil to her retorted. "In the lands where to the earthlings have spread, waters from their sources did not rise. The earth shut its womb, vegetation did not sprout. Let us the earthlings pond and canal building teach. Let them from the seas fish and sustenance obtain." So did Enki to the other leaders say. "This by decree I forbid," Enlil to Enki said. "Let the earthlings by hunger and pestilence perish. For one Shah the earthlings ate the grasses of the fields. For the second Shah and the third Shah, the vengeance of Enlil they suffered." In Shurubak, Ziusudra's city, the suffering unbearable was becoming. To Eridu, Ziusudra also